Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where we are recording it actually on the 1-month anniversary of Hallie passing away. So that's interesting. It's been what kind of day you'd call it. Like, we've made it through the day. We talked earlier upstairs.
Numb today.
It's a numb kind of day.
This is a non-crying day. And if you guys have been through extreme loss, like there's some days you literally could not make yourself cry. Like today I just feel numb. I feel like I have fire running through my veins, but then at the same time, I'm kind of numb. Like I couldn't cry right now if I made myself. It's really weird. Mm-hmm. Then you kind of feel like, shit, is there something wrong with me?
Yeah, I think I talked to the counselor about that when I was there. Like, is that some days, like, I've got people that are praying with me and they're crying and I can't cry. Yeah. Like, you've cried, you're going to cry in waves. And some days you're going to cry a bunch and some days you can't cry. And that's perfectly normal. And so
it's not totally nighttime yet, though. That's when it always gets me.
It's true. About 9 o'clock at night, it's really hard. Somebody asked me this week about, we reach out. Is it okay? And I'm like, well, yeah, we do appreciate it. We appreciate you reaching out first thing in the morning. But I would tell you that late at night at bedtime is when it's actually the hardest. So maybe if you wanted to pray for us then, pray for Angie especially then, or even reach out and let her know that you're thinking about her around 9 o'clock or after. That's when it really gets bad. And as I asked the counselor, why is that? And they just said, at that point you've done your day, you're exhausted mentally and physically, and it sets in again before you go to bed. And that's the reasoning behind the grief and the sadness before bedtime. So the last several weeks have been incredibly heavy. And there's no other way around that. But today we wanted to lighten it. And it's probably a 2-part episode because we've gone through all the notes. You have, 8 pages of notes?
Yeah, I might have 8 pages.
That's good. I love it. I love it. For where I used to make fun of you for all the notes, in this instance, I'm so glad you take all the notes because we can't forget everything this way. It's like I'm so glad that you opted to take the photos at the hospital in those last few hours because we have all those memories we wouldn't have had. And all these notes are why we have these now. So this week's episode and most likely next week's episode focuses on the signs that Hallie is still here with us, the positive things that have happened to us over the last 30 days. I saw the signs.
I know you're going to sing that
You knew I was
song.
feeling it, right?
Yeah.
It opened up my eyes. I saw the signs.
I titled it The Signs. And so, who doesn't immediately think of that song?
Mid-90s, Ace of Base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think before we dive into all of Hallie's signs, I think we first talk about how going through something tragic, losing someone that you love, will either make you a believer or it'll make you go the other direction.
You see that all the time, right?
'Cause
like
how
people
do
either
you-
hate God afterwards or they
Yeah.
draw nearer to Jesus. That's the option.
Well, and for me, yeah, absolutely. Like for me, I'm a pretty black and white person. So, prior to this happening, you think that God's out there, but like you're not 100% sure. And when you need your faith the most, it's not when everything's unicorns and rainbows. It's when you're deep in the suck of it all.
You're in the valley, of the shadow. Yeah.
Yes. The freaking deep, dark valley. And for me, in order for me to keep going, I have to know that I'm going to see Hallie again. Like, if you don't believe in God, then it's done. Like, you're never going to see her again.
I remember telling the kids the night we got home, this is why we go to church. This is why we believe in Jesus. Because if you want to see Hallie again, that is your option. Otherwise, that was that. 20 years and gone. But if you believe that Jesus is Lord and Savior and that God rules the world and there is a heaven, a place that we're all going to go, then that is your reason for hope and reason to continue to move forward so that we can be with Hallie in eternity, not just 20 years. Eternity is way longer, right? So that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, and that hope changes how you live, right? Like before loss, but even after loss. Like the hope that you will see her again changes the way I get up every day. And knowing that she's in a better place or knowing that she's there, like she's listening, that drives me. So as we have talked, I'm the type of person that, wants that control. I think, I thought I was in control. I've learned I am absolutely not in control of anything except for how I choose to go on after this.
That's really wise. That's the first time you've said that to me out loud. And since I've met you, have known that was your thing, right? You've been very open and honest. Like, I control things. It was one of the reasons why you didn't really even want to date initially, because I control things. I don't need anything. I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah. Because I used to think that way, and then lost my dad and had a lot of other loss of friends and things like that. And realized, gosh, I really don't control anything. And that's the first time you've said that to me out loud.
Well, I've said it to my kids a ton. Like, hey, you have a bad day at school, friends are mean, whatever. Like, you can't control what someone does to you, but you can control how you react to it. Mm-hmm. And, I mean,
here we are. Here we
are. Like, I can't control God's will, but I can control what I do with it. But circling back to my hope, though, that what drives me is that I will see her again. And I think anytime you lose someone, you pray for signs. Like, God, please.
Oh.
It's begging. You're begging. Please show me, Hallie. Please show me that you're okay. And so we're gonna talk about it. That's why I have 8 flipping pages.
We've had a lot of signs in the last month. We really have. It's
so many signs. Because as a mom, especially, like you took care of them. You cared for them their whole life for 20 years, and so. That's just gone. Even when she was here and 20 doing her own thing, you still care for them. You're still looking out for them.
Talk to her every day. And
I talk to her every day. And so that just all of a sudden it goes away and you're like, oh my God, I have to know that she's okay and know that she's near, right?
That's really it, right? It's know that she's near, but the signs tell us that she is actually not just okay, but she's actually better than we are.
Yeah.
Because, Hallie's better than everyone. Yeah. As she said on our first season of podcast, I'm better than everyone else. She's better than all of us now in heaven with Jesus. And we're seeing different signs of that. And that's what we want to talk about today, are some of the different things that have happened since Hallie passed that let us know she's not just okay. She's thriving while we're down here crying and mourning her loss. And that's it.
I think the first thing, and we weren't a part of this particular thing that happened, but after the honor walk, so the whole hallways were lined with our family and friends. When we then went into the room, just Hallie's brothers and sisters and her parents to say goodbye, everybody else they gathered into this room, and my mom led this certain Catholic prayer that's really important to say when someone's dying. It's called the Divine Mercy Chaplet. And my mom was praying it with her eyes closed, and she said that she felt like there was like a bright light. And this is while we were saying goodbye to Hallie when she was passing. And she opened up her eyes, and this huge beam of sun was shining through this window. And many other people saw it too.
Yeah, I remember our brother-in-law Matthew saying just like he couldn't believe, because at that time of day, it shouldn't have been shining through that.
There was a building blocking. I mean, like, there's no way the sun could have shone into that window the way it was even angled, which direction it was facing. And there's a building right outside the window. And so it was this huge ray of sunshine shining through the window into the gathering of all of Hallie's family and friends. And
as we cross-check, as I kind of asked about the timeline of it, it's around the time that she passed.
Yeah.
Is when that ray of light comes through. I mean, really incredible in that regard.
And then the next day, my parents called me, and they were just super upset. My dad was crying and said that they had went to church the next day, and my dad looked up and he said he saw Hallie standing next to Jesus, and she was looking up at Jesus, and they were both in like white robes, and Hallie just had this huge smile on her face. And my dad, he even was like, well, did I really see that or not? Like, then I think
not
he
something
started
your dad would say.
No, not at all. And she loved Grandpa Kenny. She'd always say, Grandpa, like that. And I'll have, at some point, I gotta share some funny videos of her with my parents, with her grandma and grandpa, but they're super, super special to her. And so I have no doubt she was shining that light on my mom.
Yeah.
And then showed Grandpa that she was okay.
That makes total sense to me as well.
Yeah.
Because she loved them so much.
Oh my gosh.
And they
so
had such a
much.
great relationship. Alice and Kenny, your parents are struggling as much as you
gosh.
are right
That's
now.
even hard.
I mean,
Like,
that's so hard.
It's hard for me to see my parents struggling too. Like you kind of get to the age where you're supposed to take care of them and not have my 74 dad. Sorry, I don't know how old you are, but say I just want to hold you, and you're like, what the hell? I'm like 45 years old. Like, but then I wanted that. Like, that's so hard.
We started the podcast, neither one of us could cry anymore today. We're both
Well,
crying.
what the hell? I know. Well, the next sign was all you, babe.
Yeah.
So you can tell this story.
So it was the night after Hallie passed as well, I believe. Got Angie to bed, and I just wasn't ready to go to bed yet. I just needed some time to process. Because what I'm learning in this process, it's different for all of us, which our friend Lynn Roush, who's a counselor that's been on the show with us, had said grief is like a fingerprint. It's going to be different for everyone. And so I feel like my main job is to take care of Angie and then take care of our kids. And then I get some time to myself to grieve the process. And so that night, everyone was taken care of. And I went into our office to balance the checkbook, just stay busy, right? That's how I just need to stay busy. And Angie works in that office every day. And we have a chandelier in there with 6 lights to it. 6 lights, 6 kids. And as I'm sitting there, one light starts to flicker on and off. And it's not just a blink. It's not just the lights going out. It's almost like I yelled at Chase and he came in. I was like, look at that. And it was almost like a Morse code. I have video of it I've shared on like my social media. And it's like a Morse code. And so somebody decoded it. They put the code on, they decoded it. I've tried to do it. It looks very similar to what they said. And it says, I love you. And then the next night when I went back and turned the light on, the light's fine again.
It hasn't done it since.
It's fine.
And there's
6 light bulbs.
6 lights. And
for
only
6
one
kids.
flickering for our 6 kids.
It was unbelievable. But I knew she was in that room, right? If you're open to it, like I knew she was in there with me, letting me know that she loved me and she was okay. And that was awesome. So then a few nights later, it was our first night at home without the kids. They went back to their other parents' house. It was a difficult night because it was the first weekend in December. We were having to kind of unwrap some Christmas gifts. We were having to send some things back, set things aside we were going to take back, or having to wrap some of the other kids' gifts to get it done, right? Not really what you want to do 3 or 4 days after Hallie passes, but we were doing that. And I get angry. I do. Shocker. And then my aggressive voice that we've talked about can come out. And so you were in the kitchen with me. I was wrapping. I looked up at the sky and I said, Hallie, can we just say one thing? Let's just be honest. You can be mad at me. I don't care. We were right all along about your boyfriend. All of us were. We were all right about him.
It was a very aggressive voice.
And you can't deny now that we were right. And then we kind of looked at each other and laughed and went on with our night. So about an hour goes by, I put you to bed. And
Why do you, hang on, why do you say I put you to bed?
I didn't think about it like
you
that.
You don't carry me in there.
I don't care, but I tuck you in. I make sure that you're comfortable.
He turns my heated blanket on for me.
Turn your heated blanket on.
Like I'm an old granny,
I make sure
but I love
that you're
it.
comfortable because I'm worried about you.
I know. I'm just
but it does sound right. You're right when I say it like that. Okay. So I make sure, and then I go get in the hot tub to have some time to myself. And so I go down, and when I go to get in the hot tub, I grab a beer because it's cold out, and I get in the hot tub, and I open this beer, and I set the cap on the side of the hot tub. It's flat. It's not rounded. This cap is right where it would never, ever, ever move, and there's no wind. And within 30 seconds of me setting that cap down, I jump so high because that thing shoots 5 to 6 feet across our concrete, like bouncing. I'm like, no wind, nothing's happening. And I just looked up at Hallie. I was like, okay, so I did piss you off.
Yeah, you did.
I did call you out, and I made you mad. But in that moment, that's what that was. She was mad. She let me know, okay, you might be right, but I don't have to like it.
Yeah, she was messing with you. Another area of signs, this one actually Dane kind of pointed out initially after Hallie passed was, well, he's our Rain Man kid anyway, but he's like, did you guys notice all the sevens? And I didn't really realize this before, but 7 is a significant number in the Bible, that it really signifies the creation and kind of like completion is what I've read about it, of why it's significant in the Bible.
That number's used more times than any. When Jesus talks about forgiveness, he says 7 times 77. I mean, he just goes on and on. 7 is a number that's used several times.
It's his favorite number. It's God's favorite number is what I've read.
Yeah.
But Hallie was on the 7th floor in room number 7. She was born on January 17th. There's now 7 of us instead of 8 here on Earth.
I didn't think, a lot of 7s.
A lot of 7s. One night shortly after she passed, the organ transplant company, our representative there called and said, you know, in all of my 7 years, I've never had a special request, but we have a special request that Hallie matches. And a 17-year-old boy needed... 17-year-old boy in all of her 7 years. She never had this happen, but he needed 3 of her bone fingers out of her left hand, which would have left her 7 bone fingers. It's interesting. We just recognized this the other day, but when we go to Wilson's, I don't know why, we all gravitate to this one locker room number. And it's 14. And we all use it even when the other person's not there, like us girls.
Yeah, like you guys had no idea that you all used it.
Everybody went, like Lex or Hallie, Summer. We go to this one locker, number 14. Don't know why. So after Hallie passed, I'm going to the gym with the boys. No girls are with me. And it just hits me, number 14, like that's 7 plus 7. So I snapped it to Summer. I'm like, oh, 7 plus 7, 14's our locker. And then the other day, I'm going through Hallie's stuff from when she was a little kid in like first grade. And I noticed that her number in school was 14. Like all of her papers have her name on it and then number 14. It was really bizarre. We also have had a scenario where, well, the night you got aggressive and said, Hallie, we were right, I was switching out stockings on our mantle because they were like green and red and white. And this year I had decided I just wanted white stockings, all white stockings. And so Target had them on sale for like $7 on Black Friday. I ordered them. Well, then all this stuff happened. So our office is piled with boxes from Amazon, different things that we've ordered. And so that night I was also like, God, we're going to have to go through all these boxes and figure out what this shit is. You know, one of them was stockings. So I start switching out the stockings. It has everybody's initial on it. And that was the one Hallie had taken. And when she had messed with you that day, you had surgery, messed everything up in our house, like switching stuff around. She had spelled out with the initials salad and then CHC. And so we're leaving it salad. That's always going to be the way our stockings are set up. But I was switching out the red and the green. And all of a sudden I look down, I'm like at the last one, and I realize that I have 2 L's that are white, and I don't have a white H. So that left 7 white stockings and 1 green stocking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know how that happened.
Because you went back, you didn't order 2 L's.
I didn't order 2 L's, but I also didn't order an H. But we're like, all right, Hallie, you can be green. It's fine. You can be green. I'll let you be green, and everybody else can be white.
And now the sad thing for us is there's 7 crew members instead of 8.
Yeah.
I mean, but 7 has become a big number in our home. Dane's changed his baseball number from 1 to 7. I keep looking for 7s everywhere that I go. 7, oddly to me, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. When I was growing up, 7 was my favorite number. And so this has all brought a lot of that back for me. And I'm looking for 7s all over the place at any time. I'm always looking for a 7. I've noticed when I'm in the car this week, it's been cold. I set my heat to 77.
Oh, gosh.
I know it's getting weird for me, but I am. I mean, like I'm looking for 7s every which way that I can. And it's just one of our signs is 7. And then keep in mind, it might be the next podcast before we get there, but that color green It's a
Yeah,
color that
it'll come
reminds us
back
of
up.
Hallie, and it'll come back up.
Yeah, and then, oh gosh, there's the Isaiah quote. That's a very significant quote for us as well. So Hallie had passed on Tuesday, and on Thursday, one of my good friends, Jill, sent me this like beautiful quote. Just the whole picture of it. It's hard to describe, but it was so beautiful. It was like handwritten out, and it said, God does not cause pain without allowing something new to be born, Isaiah 6:9. But behind it was like this beautiful like Christmas tree and a living room. Like it didn't even look real. It was so pretty.
It's true. It was beautiful.
It was so beautiful. And she sent it to me and she was like, hey, I came across this. I just wanted to share it with you. And like the quote was so beautiful and it meant so much to me too because of Hallie deciding she wanted to be an organ donor. Yeah. And it's like, God, that just resonates. Like God's causing all this pain, but something new will be born. And, she's 5 life-saving gifts. But then, like, you can think about it on a whole nother level of, like, we are going to grow into something new. Like, I will never be the person I was. Yeah. There's a person before Hallie passed, and there's a person after. And I think our entire family is that way. Like, something new is going to be born out of all of this. And it just really, like that quote just really hit home for me, obviously. And then we end up getting a card in the mail from one of her Mizzou classes from the students. And a whole bunch of kiddos signed it. And in the middle, a kid named Isaiah wrote that exact same quote from Isaiah 6:9.
God does not cause pain without allowing something new to be born. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. So then to make it even more chilling and a sign from Hallie is that a week later, I have kind of a mutual friend of ours reach out and just say, hey, I'm praying for your family. But then kind of goes on to say, I don't know if you know this or not, but you shared a quote on your Instagram, and that actually is my sister-in-law's living room. Like
that beautiful tree we mentioned that looked fake. No, that's real. It's in a real living room.
And she had lost her husband tragically and went into painting and kind of created her own business for these type of scriptures and creating things for other people to remember their loved ones by. But the bizarre part of it is that when she wrote that scripture out and took that picture, was on Sunday, the day Hallie was shot. But she didn't decide to post it until Tuesday, the day Hallie passed, but had no idea what had happened, obviously. Like nothing, no connection point to what ties back to Hallie. She's like, you can think it's a coincidence or that God made sure you would get your hands on that particular quote at the right time. Just unbelievable.
And God made sure that we knew in that moment that he was in control and that, again, Isaiah chapter 66, verse 9, God does not cause pain without allowing something new to be born. And that's a new quote that lives in our home, that will always live in our home and have, when they talk about memorizing Bible verses, that's never been something I'm good at. Right?
Oh, me either.
But I'm going to tell you right now that Isaiah 66:9 is one I'm working on. There's another one we'll talk about later that I'm working on, and that those are big, and that's what's going to help us find our way through this mess right now. Many things have made us feel like the months leading up to Hallie's passing were God preparing us and preparing her to go be with him, even though none of us knew that. And we're so grateful and lucky. One of my friends, Jamie, he messaged me this week and said, I'm so grateful you guys have done the podcast and you have the episodes that Hallie was on so that you can go back and listen to her because she was so eloquent and good in those podcasts. That's Hallie's true self, was who she was in our podcasts in season 1, the person that she was meant to be. And I love that about her. And so, one, we're grateful we have that. What Angie has said over and over again, take the picture.
Take the damn pictures and videos.
And videos. Now we have her voice.
I mean, I go back to the videos because it's her smile, it's her laughing, it's singing, it's being silly, all the things. And so I could spend days just going through all of her videos, but there's one significant video that is like by far my all-time favorite. It was on our vacation in July, and Hallie easily sunburns.
Yes, she does. We got a good video of that. Lexi, help me.
Oh, her poor feet were so swollen. She got so sunburned on her feet because I guess she forgot to put sunscreen on her feet. I'm not sure what happened, but
So I think she forgot.
so because of that, and my dad does not enjoy the beach. He would rather be our Manny and piddle in the house and do laundry and dishes and all that's his thing he loves to do. So she ended up spending a lot of time with my parents, with her grandma and grandpa. And her and my dad ended up one afternoon writing this poem. And when I found the video, I remembered it, right? But like why I videoed it and the way I videoed it, I don't know. I don't know why I did it.
It's one of those God things.
It's a God thing. And this poem's chilling now. Like at the time, it was like, oh, wow, it's a really cool poem. But then now it's like chilling. So
I'm going to read it. And as I read it, I want you to think about this, is that now that it's over and we can hear her read it and we have the poem, it's called Mustang and Cowboy. And it's like Hallie's the Mustang and Angie's the cowboy. So Mustang and Cowboy by Kenny Oligschlager and Hallie Phillips. This is a story about a horse, jet black, and truth this story does not lack. The horse's name would be Ghost Rider. Since birth, the stallion was a fighter. In his youth, he was in a band of Mustangs, yearlings dashing across the land, their hooves rang. He bore scars proudly from endeavors had. Now they are covered by an old cowboy's saddle pad. Gray is now growing on both their faces. They trot down the trail to fewer places. As the Mustang passes on into his golden years, his cowboy rider sheds a few tears. Once they rode the plains as fast as light, towards new horizons with all their might. One last ride, the cowboy pleads, as the gray stallion falls to his knees. Tears stream down the old cowboy's face when he buries Mustang in his final resting place.
Snaps.
Snaps. And she said snaps.
Yeah, we posted that video. I posted it on TikTok and other social media platforms. But yeah, at the end, she's like, snaps, that's what you're supposed to do.
Everybody snaps.
And my dad goes, pretty dang good.
Now we have that poem hanging in our kitchen.
The crazy thing about that, too, is right the week before this all happened, she had an opportunity to mentor a 14-year-old girl that had some similar struggles. And she was so excited about that opportunity, so excited. And I knew she was putting a lot of thought into it. I just didn't know how much. I mean, just the way she was going to approach it. She's like, Mom, I only would want to talk to her if she really wants to talk to me. I don't want it to be like her mom's making her. Like, I want her to really want to chat with me. And Aric had ended up wanting to make sure I had that notebook. So in the video, Hallie is reading the poem that her and my dad wrote from a notebook. And he wanted to get that notebook. So he ended up finding it.
This is the great thing about a marriage, right? You were focused on the video, as a mom would be, right? You wanted to hear her voice.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about this notebook.
And in my mind, I was like, I need this notebook for my wife. I got to find this notebook. And so I did. I reached out to Lance and Michelle as we were going to get all Hallie's things. And they found the notebook and gave it to me. And so I was able to find the notebook, give it to you so we could go through it, get the poem that we could blow up and put in our kitchen. I mean,
So he's super excited about the poem and finding it. So he surprises me with his notebook. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And I thumb through it, and she only has 4 pages that are filled out in this notebook. But I flip it from the poem, and she has got 2 pages of notes that she put together to talk to this girl about. And that was almost to me more powerful even.
It was the thought she put into this
handwriting. What I love about Hallie is she was okay sitting in that darkness. Like even more than me. Like I'm more like, oh, let's just always shine the light. And Hallie's more like, that's bullshit, Mom. Like, it's not always light, Because of that, Hallie was very brave and authentic, and she would have been such a great mentor.
Yeah.
Because she could sit with people and say, I struggle with that too, type of thing. And
that's where her and I finally started to connect, right? I think I've shared in the past, like one of our first interactions, me driving her was like, hey, I can help you with math. I don't need a dad. I've already got a dad. Okay. But then we did start to connect when she realized that I tried to dig deeper with my kids, go into the hard stuff, and we would have conversation. She's just what you just said. My mom always wants it to be positive. And that's not the way life is. Life can be really hard. And so I know it's hard. And so then her and I started talking more about those things. And that's how her and I ended up connecting, was because I was like, your mom is very positive. That's one of the reasons I love your mom. She takes things and makes them good. And I'm just so used to the suck at that point in my life. I said, I'm used to sitting in the suck. And so we had a lot of conversations about that.
I think that just comes with age too. Like, I think Hallie would have totally gotten to that point, right?
Yeah,
because
for sure.
because why I want to shine a light is because I've been in the suck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've had all those struggles. And so at some point you get tired of feeling a certain way, right? And you want to change how you feel. And Hallie was getting there even just based on her notes. So like some of the things that she put together that she wanted to share with this young girl is just acknowledge that there's no judgments, that she's made mistakes and she's more just there to listen and be able to give advice if it's wanted. And the thing that she really wanted to connect with her on is that everybody struggles because people only put the best of themselves out there on social media. And you never have it figured out. Like, it's always about learning to be comfortable with the struggle. And it's kind of like, God, how ironic reading that. That's literally what her mom, what I need to hear right now, is a lot of what things Hallie was putting together to mentor this girl.
And I think it's really, really special that the things that she is doing right now to comfort you is the things that you taught her. How powerful is that? You taught her. And now in her afterlife with Jesus, she is coming back and giving you that comfort in those ways. It's amazing. Yeah. It's truly amazing.
Painful beauty.
Painful beauty, we keep
back
saying.
to that.
That is all the time we have for this week's episode. We have plenty of pages of notes left, but that's good because we get to share 2 powerful weeks of positive stories about what we're going through with Hallie right now. And I mean, the signs are there. They're real. God is real. Jesus Christ is real. Hallie in heaven is real. And that's what's getting us to the next day. We're super sad. Some days we're super angry. Some days we're both. But the hope that we talked about early on in Isaiah 66, verse 9, if you don't know what it is, we've read it 3 times. Look it up again. Put it on your mantle. Those are the things that we've got right now. And so we'll continue to share those signs as we look at next week.
Yeah, I'll leave you with one additional thought. It's a quote that I came across that also I try to read often. It's not tied to Bible verse. This one's not. But it's that the sun will rise and set regardless. So what we choose to do with the light while it's here is up to us. And so we need to all journey wisely.
It's beautiful. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week with more signs from Hallie. God bless. Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.